Hey there, I brought you a girl today. Um, like the girls that you can expect to meet from online dating. This is not just any girl, though. This is a rather special girl. This is a girl that I met 18 months ago. I've been dating ever since. She comes with me on my programs. We hunt girls together. We've had threesomes together. And so she's pretty open to talking about pickup and meeting girls and that kind of stuff. But in particular today, I wanted her to talk about. I actually met her online. I wanted her to talk about her experience online in general, and also her experience meeting me online, and sort of how when she was on the receiving end of my online game, what the experience kind of was like for her. So I guess to get started, do you want to tell me? I guess maybe just tell the story of how we met.
Okay. I actually was no longer subscribed to the online dating site I was using. It was a paid site. And I got a wink from this guy. And I would check it periodically and see if anyone in particular sparked my interest, but no one had. And I got a wink from him, and I decided to wink back because you could still do that even if you weren't a subscriber. And I told myself I would consider rejoining, spending money to go back on the site in order to talk to him if he sent me a message, which he did. So after about a day or so of hemming and hawing, I resubscribed to the site in order to read a message from him and respond to it. Um, it was his profile drew me in, first of all. I thought it was very honest, even if there were a lot of things on it I didn't necessarily like. At least they were, I knew that they were actually a part of him. And I think that's one of the things that is lacking from profiles is that they tend to be like resumes and they showcase only the good parts and you can kind of see through them. Like, you know that not everyone is, is perfect. So obviously when you see someone who is willing to, put both sides of himself out there, it's pretty attractive. And obviously I found him attractive as well, so that didn't hurt. And his first message was very flippant. I can't remember the content exactly, but it was basically about he would be gracing me with his wonderful presence and thanks bye or something like that. And he actually made a spelling error in his message.
Autocorrect.
Yeah, okay, it was an autocorrect mistake. But I work with words for a living, so I'm very attuned to those things. And I pointed out the spelling error in my message back to him. So basically, I gave him a shit test, which I didn't actually realize was a shit test at the time. And he wrote back using the word that he misspelled or that autocorrect misspelled in about six different ways, spelled different ways, to just throw it in my face that he would never be stupid enough to actually make the mistake, and then I consequently felt silly for pointing it out. But that won me over, and that I think we had three or four messages back and forth before we got to the phone portion. And then I don't know, or should I just keep going
Yeah,
or
about the phone, the date, whole deal.
okay? He told me he would call me at a certain time, which I found interesting, and he called when he said he would. And I I liked his voice. And we had some good banter over the phone. We actually had a few banterish text messages before we got to the phone, but we moved pretty quickly to um, speaking over the phone. And we set up a date for, I think, 2 days from then.
Sounds right.
And he said he would text me a location, and he did. And I realized I worked where I worked at the time was not very conveniently located to where this place was. Um, I think it would take me about half an hour to get there to take two trains. But obviously, I was willing to do that. So he did a good job. Whereas if I didn't like him enough, I wouldn't have made the effort. I would have said, "Can we meet somewhere closer to where I work?" But I was willing to do that in order to meet with him. And he hugged me right away when I met him on our date, which I thought was interesting because a lot of guys don't really get physical immediately. Um, And it's pretty awkward if you're a girl because you're just kind of standing there and you don't know what to do. You don't know if you should go for a hug. You don't know if you should stick your hand out, which is even more awkward actually because then it feels like a business meeting.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of stand there. So he took away that awkwardness by just giving me the hug. And I didn't have to think about anything. And we went to a really small, sort of cozy bar where we sat on stools and there was nothing between us, just air. And if we basically had moved forward a bit, our knees could touch, which of course I didn't let that happen at first.
Of course not.
No, of course not.
Never
I was a
would.
very, very naive child at the time. Yeah, 18 months ago. Anyway, and I wasn't used to a guy getting so physical so quickly on a date. And I don't know, I was a little self-conscious because people could be looking at us. And so when he tried to kiss me or hold my hand, I got like very flustered. But I liked it. I obviously wanted him to kiss me. I wanted him to hold my hand, but I was not expecting that at all. And it's funny because while I was reacting that way, I had gone on a date with a guy months before, and I'd actually yelled at him for not kissing me on a date. I actually yelled at him. So the fact that what I wanted to have happen was happening, it was still making me nervous, but that was a good kind of nervous, you know. And I don't know, we probably kissed 5 times or so, just on the date itself, like not at the end of the date, which is where, you know, you're supposed to kiss.
Supposed to.
Yeah. We kissed several times. And we were there for like 3 hours, I guess. And I mean, going with the theme of this, you had 3 dates lined up that night.
She was date number 1.
I was date number 1. It's like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So you actually had 2 dates lined up after mine. But the one wanted to change where you were meeting or change the time, and basically
I guess she wanted to meet in a place that was more convenient to her or whatever.
right. And you said not worth it. And then
Well, also because, you know, I was having a good time.
you were having a good time. Okay. Well, the third one, that was definitely because you were having a good time.
Yes.
Just yeah. So he canceled the other dates in the middle of our date, under the guise of business. He's like, oh, I have to make a work phone call or something. And he went outside. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then, I don't know, we were there for a long time. We got along exceptionally well. And then, I don't think you said exactly, let's get out of here, but you said, like, I can't remember what you said. Do you remember what you said?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I might have said, I don't know, I would have said something like, let's go walk, or let me show you, I want to take you one other place, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, probably.
Yeah, and so we went to this, it was sort of like an upscale bodega. It had liquor, but it had food. And there was a couple there who owned it, and we went in and we got wine, and we ate some food while we were there, and we kind of bullshitted with the owners. And then, I don't know, then we skipped to where you were staying.
Which
and
was how far away from where I met you.
very, very close, like around the corner.
Important.
Very important. And I don't know, I wasn't really too resistant, so I kind of, I went upstairs, and one of the things I remember was that he didn't pounce on me, like when we got through the door. Like there was a cat in the apartment, and like we like said hello to the cat and pet the cat, and he used the bathroom, and then he went into the kitchen and got the wine. He came back out. Everything was done very slowly. And then he kind of sat down on the couch next to me, but not really that close, which was interesting because we were probably closer on the, you know, quote unquote traditional part of the date. And so I was like, what the heck? He's like not even sitting near me. He's not even like trying to touch me. But then, you know, eventually you did. And then we had very good sex.
Aww. Thanks, baby.
You're welcome.
Cool.
Just being truthful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
One other thing that you mentioned to me when you told me about that before was, remember the thing about the questions?
Oh, that's right. So I remember telling him things about myself, sort of in an effort to incite questions. I was actually going on a trip to Southeast Asia a few days after our date, and I was going by myself. I was backpacking, and I figured that would incite some questions, like, short, petite girl going alone to Southeast Asia backpacking, and he didn't ask me anything. He didn't ask me anything about my, where I was from, my family, what I studied in school, and at the time I was so used to getting those sorts of questions that when I wasn't being asked them, I wasn't necessarily mad about it. I was just surprised and shocked, and I wanted to know why he didn't want to know these things, or not why you didn't want to know them, but why you weren't asking them. So I actually called him out on it, and I said, "You haven't asked me one question about myself since we've been here," and we had been on the date for about an hour at that point. And you said that you kind of looked like a little surprised that I picked up on it, but you said that you thought, and I believe this is true as well, that questions don't really delve into the person as much as just talking, just making statements, and you find out more about a person without asking questions. And looking back on it, I think that's definitely true, and I see that all the time, obviously, when I go out with you and when I talk to people, and I try not to ask those kinds of questions anymore. The where are you from? The what do you do? What did you study? They're just they're played out. And so I was intrigued by the fact that he didn't feel the need to ask me those questions, and yet somehow we were getting to know each other better actually than on any other date I'd ever been on. So without the use of questions. So it was a pretty unique experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was it about my profile that you noticed, or maybe a better question, what do you remember about my profile as of like to this day?
I remember. Well, I mean, I practically know it by heart at this point, but
Yeah,
I
because
won't break
yeah.
it down like by specifics. But I remember thinking that it was like this really messed up combination of charming and but snarky and unapologetic, and I don't know, it just like glowed with independence. Like, this is who I am. I don't make any apologies. I'm not going to change. And I feel that way about myself. So I kind of saw, I think they talk about, like, if you like someone, you usually like the qualities in them that you like in yourself as well. And so that was something that stood out. You you weren't long-winded, and it was broken down like by sentences instead of like one long paragraph, which I think can be a little bit daunting if you just see a lot of words. And it was entertaining. Like, I never found myself skipping over any part of it. And there's a quote people use in writing that says, like, if you're a writer, it says, write the parts that people won't skip. And I read his entire profile, which I think is weird. Usually you look at some parts and you don't want to read them, you skim over them. But it was all interesting, and even though some parts of it like made me a little mad, or like not even mad, just mad, like annoyed. Um, it was like reading a book that's really good, or watching a movie. I mean, if you didn't have like ups and downs, if you didn't have parts that like made you a little uncomfortable or upset or angry, in addition to being turned on or excited or happy, then it's really not a good experience. And I think that's if you're a typical guy, usually you just put out a lot of like really good emotions, and that's where people start to fall asleep. Then also, like, you had some good quotes on there that really resonated with me. You said something about, how you're probably a vampire. Like, I found myself laughing out loud and also being a little like like actually making that like throat clearing noise.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was obviously I had been off the site in terms of a subscriber for I think 3 or 4 months, and I had gotten winks and messages from other guys, but I resubscribed. I paid money in order to talk to him, so obviously like it was pretty impactful, in order to get me to do that, because I didn't do that with anyone else. So I'm trying to think. if there's anything else in particular. Your headline was kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, only if you're fat.
Only if you're fat. No, I don't know. Can I say what it was or?
Yeah, it's fine. It's in the product. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's Life's Too Short to Dance with Fat Chicks, which I actually didn't know was a line from
Californication.
Californication.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had Googled, I would have figured that out, but I didn't. I didn't know. And I mean, you can't really. You're gonna read that profile even if it makes you mad, because it's that um, emotionally, inviting, whether it's in a negative way or a positive way.
Sure.
Um,
Sounds good. What was your experience like with online dating in general? Like, what do you think are the things that you would tell guys never do this, definitely do this, that kind of stuff?
um, I really hate the like bathroom mirror photos. Like I think they're just awful. Um, and like they're usually like the mirror's dirty. Like you can see like a Lysol like spray can on the side, and it's just like okay, this is gross.
It's funny. That's every girl's pet peeve.
It's
You
every
hear, you
girl's
hear
pet
that so
peeve.
much.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just awful. But then like I was talking about before, the profiles are long. They're boring. They're just a list of accolades. And actually, when I wrote my own profile, one of the first things I said was that I could list a bunch of adjectives like I'm funny and I'm smart and I'm athletic, and and basically tell you what I am instead of showing you what I am. And so this was before I even met you. Like I was basically calling out those guys who just say like, oh well, my uncle Bob says that I'm like a really great guy and that I'm really funny, and like my sister says that like I'm genuine. It's like that doesn't tell me anything about you. It's just it all sounds like a bunch of bullshit. And there is really something to showing and not telling. So instead of like saying you're funny or saying that you're athletic, like show that you're athletic in your photos. Obviously, don't do the mirror selfie. But if you play a sport, or you're a mountain climber or a snowshoer, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Show not tell. And a lot of times you just get these long-winded paragraphs about like how great I am, how great I am, how great I am. And some of the profiles I really liked actually were the ones that said like, these are 10 things you need to know about me. And one of them was like, I still sleep with my stuffed bear from when I was a kid. And it's like, oh, cute. And then the next one's like, I really hate watching people floss. I think it's the most disgusting thing ever. But like, there's emotion behind all of these things, right? Like, I hate this, or I hate that, and it's like some things are, or like or like admitting things that they didn't want to like that really aren't that nice about them, or something like that. So I always liked reading stuff like that, and I put stuff like that in my own profile that like I power walk, or that I hate tourists in the city that I lived in, and like I would like knock them over and stuff like that. So like I mean that shows that I'm impatient, right? Which is not really the best quality in the world. But like I liked when guys did that too, when they would show like the side of them that like isn't so pretty, isn't so wonderful. Because that's the person you end up getting. You don't get the person on paper. You get a real person who has flaws. And as far as messages go, they were often very, very they were not memorable. They were uncreative. A lot of times I would just get like a hey, or you're cute, spelled you-are, instead of, how you're supposed to spell you-are. And, or like, what are you doing this weekend? Or how was your weekend? And I was just like, it's the same thing with those questions again, like just boring. And I usually I wouldn't answer them, or I would answer them in kind of this, like half-assed sort of way, and I would just ask a question back, and I found myself like not even really caring about the answer. But if whenever I got a not even a question, but like something that like just was out of the ordinary, like that's when you respond. Like that's when you become invested, and then when you write back, you actually think about what you're going to write back instead of just like just throwing something out there. Yeah, I didn't have a very good online dating experience. Obviously, I let my subscription run out. And I don't know, I found that I'd almost would rather a guy think of a very good first message and like send it a lot of times than just send hey or what's up or how are you or you're beautiful or something like that. you might as well be creative, even if it was replicated, a lot of times, because at least that's better than just like, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I don't think it is. I think that any girl would say the same, even if they don't realize that's what's happening. Like they might get lots of haze and WhatsApps, and then they get someone who just says something like totally off the wall, and like that's the message they respond to. I don't really know if they realize that that's what's happening. They're just kind of asleep for the other ones, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm woken up. This is something interesting. This is something I want to find out more about, even if it's totally polarizing and cocky asshole.
Aw.
Aw.
Okay. Lastly, to kind of close off, if you could give just 3 quick, like, one-sentence tips to guys for online,
tips.
like 3 one-sentence tips for what to do, what not to do, what would they be? And that's
Okay.
kind of putting you on the spot, but
Showcase your personality, only yours, no one else's. You can draw from people who inspire you, but don't rely on them as crutches. You should take photos seriously, and you should show them to other people, especially girls. And selfies are stupid, I think. Like, just photos with another girl or friends, photos that showcase your personality. Again, like I said, with the profile itself. And then lastly, your first message is really and you can do a follow-up message, which you do talk about, but like your first message is very, very important. And that's the one that's going to get you in the door. So, you get creative, again, showcase your personality, and be different, but be yourself at the same time. And I think good things will follow.
sounds good. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, straight from the mouth of a girl, how to do online dating the right way.